Rabbi Dr. Michael Hilton lived in Kenton as a child and attended Quainton Hall School in Harrow and Merchant Taylor School in Northwood. He has worked as a housing officer with homeless families before training for the rabbinate at Leo Bate College. Michael is married and has 3 sons. He has written 2 books in the field of Jewish-Christian dialogue, the Gospels and Rabbinic Judaism, and is recently published a book in 2014, which was the Bar Mitzvah, a history detailing the origins and development of Bar Mitzvah for boys and Bat Mitzvah for girls.
Thank you very much, Kamal. It's a pleasure once again to be here. Salam alaikum and Ramadan Kareem. I've been rabbi of Kol Chai now for 16 years. I'm now into my last few weeks before I retire. But I'd be delighted to be invited back here again. I'm not leaving the area, and I hope you will want to continue to welcome me, as well as my successor, Rabbi Naomi Goldman, who'll be taking over from September. One little bit that was missing from that biography was the many years that Claire and I and our family lived in Manchester. I was the rabbi of Menorah Synagogue in Wythenshawe. It's not so very far from the Victorian, very beautiful suburb of Didsbury, where the Manchester Islamic Centre is, which has been in the news the past week. And in that area there were also, or were when I lived there, 2 Sephardi synagogues almost next door to each other. They had a quarrel in the 1920s, and I think they've only just made it up. The rabbi of one of those synagogues was and is Rabbi Shlomo Elitov, a very genial Israeli, a very warm manner, very endearing to his congregation, his people, and so many in South Manchester. And I remember when I went there, you would see his boys running around the place, helping but also rather mischievous. And the oldest one now, Amir, is now himself a rabbi, and he's one of the chaplains at the Manchester Royal Infirmary. So it was just on this very night, the Monday night, Tuesday morning a week ago, that his phone rang just after midnight. And he was told to get down to the hospital quickly. There's been a major incident. So he went straight down there. He was briefed by the person in charge of all the chaplains, and then with Peter, one of the Christian chaplains, and Siddiq, the Muslim chaplain, they walked along the corridor and into the room together, all 3 of them, to see what help they could give. They had to talk very difficult situations to bereaved families, parents who'd lost children. They had to talk to people who were waiting and didn't really know what was going on with their loved ones. And they had to help many families whose sons or daughters had been wounded in the bombing. What was noticeable in the way he writes about this was how those Muslim, Christian, and Jewish chaplains were working together. Even the families themselves were beginning to come together. They were shivering, he says, shocked, but they also had a quiet determination about them, not wanting to be beaten by the terrorists' actions. It's a paradox that in our Western democracies, tragic acts do bring people together. Scary events might take us off the streets, away from crowded places, but they haven't weakened our society. And we see so many from different faiths, Jews, Muslims, Christians, and others working together in our public services, in our hospitals, in our schools, in our police, for the common good. And we know, as they know, that they have built special relationships which can withstand wickedness and evil. You've heard that I've written 2 books on the subject of Jewish-Christian relations. now I'm retiring and hope to have a little bit more time, I want to do some research in the field of Jewish-Muslim relations, and in particular, Muslim influences on Judaism. It's a story which scholars know, but which most of us are not so familiar. The story of how, in the early years of Islam, when the correct text of the Holy Quran was being established by Uthman and others, the vocalization marks being put in, the diacritical marks, and the methods of chanting established, at the same time, a precise text of the Torah was being established. Systems were also created for vocalizing, putting the dots and dashes into Torah scrolls. Systems too for chanting. These were developed not by Jews and Muslims working together, but in the same part of the world at the same time. There were clear influences there. And in many other areas, in philosophy, in the development of law, in medicine, in mathematics, Jews and Muslims have worked together, and Judaism as we have it today has been influenced by hundreds of years of contact with Islam and Muslims. You see, the simple message is that in the end, we stand together or we fall apart. Thank you.